That was my little signal. I'm really just doing this off of a whim. Like, I just had an idea and I wanted to do it. I just watched Ant-Man Quantumania yesterday, and I tried to be really nice to it. I tried to be really generous with it because compared to the past few Marvel movies, it wasn't terrible. Like, there were a lot of things to appreciate, but I don't know. It's just so mediocre. I guess that's just how Marvel's going these days. So I had an idea of like what would make this movie better. What could I have done? And I kind of wanted to compare like two things I've thought of in recent history. I was just like curious as to what could make something better. Just one thing that could make the movie at least a little better. I'm not trying to like fix the whole movie. And then compare it to something that could have been worse in a movie that I think is perfect. So the two movies I have in mind today, obviously one I've already mentioned, Ant-Man Quantumania, and the second one I have is La La Land. La La Land, if you know who I am, that's one of my favorite movies ever. So first thing, let's talk about Ant-Man first. The one thing that I was like, oh, this could have been improved, was Scott's relationship with his daughter. She starts off as like this rebellious type teenager, and I feel like that's been so like hammered into the ground already, like that kind of character. If they had a bit of tension at the beginning of the movie and they had to work it out throughout the movie, it would have made Scott's kind of pointlessness after Endgame be a little more demeaning, I feel like, and he would have to work more to prove himself to his daughter, because that's the only person who would matter to at that point. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know, I feel like that'd be better. But I feel like even if they did do something like that, there would still be a lot of work to be done to make that movie, I guess, good. And I don't know, the style has just also been so, hammered into the ground with Marvel these days. Use different lenses, use an anamorphic lens from here to there, maybe some film from here to there. I don't know, I feel like it'd be a nice change of pace. Like, it would be more artistic, and you could open so many more people up to other movies like that. Like Marvel, I used to be obsessed with Marvel, and I'll still watch it, but it's more out of like hoping that they're going somewhere as opposed to like the anticipation. I'm looking for something to hold on to with them. I keep saying it, like I feel like they should have ended it at Endgame. I don't think they should have kept going, even though I do think Far From Home is a movie that should have come out regardless. Same thing with No Way Home. Like, those are movies I needed to see just because I love Spider-Man. I feel bad, honestly, because these guys are probably working so hard to pump out all these movies and shit, especially the VFX team. It's funny how like 2012 Avengers had better VFX than what we have now. It just looks so much more realistic back then. That's just me though. Now it's time to point out something good that could have been, off by the wayside from a movie that I think personally is perfect, and that is La La Land. La La Land is one of my favorite movies ever, top 3 all time for me. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's kind of like the epilogue part, in the third act when it flash forwards to 5 years later. Sebastian, he's about to open his club, and Mia has already been this popular actress. It's funny because throughout that whole set of events leading up to the moment where Mia walks into the club, Sebastian and Mia don't acknowledge each other at all, at least from what the viewer can see. And I guess subconsciously you're constantly thinking like, what's their relationship now? Like, do they talk to each other? Do they even acknowledge each other? Do they not like each other? The moment where Sebastian is walking out of his car and going into his club, where he walks past the poster of Mia and he doesn't look at it at all, and that kind of answers some more questions. Like, what do they think about each other? Like, that's honestly subconsciously what I'm thinking as I'm watching it. And then Mia doesn't acknowledge him either. She has this husband and a daughter now. Mia and her husband, they walk into the club, and you already know it's Sebastian's club, at that point. And so there's no surprise there. Like, we know like something's about to happen, so there's a little anticipation there. They get down to the stairs, and Mia sees the name of the club. It's Seb's. It's the name she suggested to him like halfway through the film. as opposed to what he wanted it to be called, which was chicken on a stick. This moment right here could have been something we easily forgotten if they did it differently. If they called the club Chicken on a Stick instead of Seb's, it changes a lot. If it's called Chicken on a Stick, you laugh at it momentarily and be like, oh, that's the name he wanted, that's funny. They walk into the club and it's just, the tension's not there. I feel like it doesn't heighten the moment as much as when you see Seb's. Immediately once you see Seb's, you know what Sebastian's intentions were, and it's almost like him honoring her, as in a sense, and you already know what he thinks of her at that point. He basically named the club basically after her, and that's one little thing, but it makes the moment afterwards so like you anticipate it so much more now. She walks into the club, you see her walking in, she's all worried now because she knows whose club it is now. You know, if it was Chicken on a Stick, she would know, I guess, but now that it's Seb's, it means more because it's the name she suggested. It answers questions, but it also leaves a lot to be answered, and I like that a lot. And that I feel like is something, it's such a minute detail, but it's so important to the way things lead up to the eventual epilogue moment. That's just one thing from each of those movies that I think really, like, it changes the scope of the movie. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're little tiny things, and I just think it's nice to point that out. And I think I'm gonna leave it here. I literally chose to do this little talking to the camera thing off a whim. I try to get in as much natural light as possible because I don't want this disgusting yellow dim light to be, shining on my face. Like, what the hell is that? I'll see everyone soon. Bye.